we think about what I like about myself, it feels like a kind of a crazy um, title. What I dislike about myself, um, and just being comfortable with what I dislike about myself. How many times we've thought about, or we've said this, I wish I was, or if only I could, or, I should have, which means it was something that we didn't like. And, being able to identify what that is helps us to emerge into what we possibly can be. So I wanted to share a few things that I don't like about myself, or I dislike about myself, because the truth is, I still love me. I'm still happy with my imperfections, because to me, my imperfections are flawless, and I have to be comfortable with that. But there's certain things that I wish I was, or if only I could be, I should have. And one of those things is I don't pick up the phone and talk to a friend. For me to even just dial a number and pick it up is awkward and uncomfortable. And I know that comes from somewhere because of something in my past. And this is what I do. I have to text first and ask for permission, or say something like, uh, do you have a few minutes to chat? Why? Because I feel like I would be a nuisance, and I don't want to be that. I don't want to be that nuisance. And it kind of it gets me stuck in my world. Maybe that friend is someone that needed to talk to someone, and maybe I could have um, been that to that friend, and I would have probably felt the same way. So here's, if only I could pick up the phone and talk to a friend whenever I felt like a close friend, then maybe, just maybe, I will start to like that about myself, until I love that about myself, that I could do that. Another thing would be, that I dislike is, I'm always in a rush. And I'll never forget when my mom was visiting me from South Africa, and she came to my place, and I walked terribly fast. And she looked at me and she said, "Why are you in a rush?" And I'm like, "No, I'm not rushing." She said, "Yeah, you're running." I'm like, "No, mom, I'm walking." She said, "Okay, walk slow and see what happens." And I tried that, but now I'm in giggles because it is awkward for me to walk slowly. I just have to run. I have a flight of stairs here at home, and I'm always running up and down. And I think to myself, if I could just slow down, I will have more moments in the day where I get to pause and breathe. And I also get to self reflect. And, unless we take moments to self reflect, how can we observe ourselves and how we're showing up, and what we can work on to get to a greater version, a better version of who we are? Because we all a work in progress. I'm sure we all want to be better at something. So, what if I just took a moment, paused, and noticed, or thought about what is something that I could do better? If only I could pause and not be in a rush, then I will maybe start to like that about myself, until I love that about myself. There's a third thing. You know, I dislike at times, especially in close relationships, I don't say what I feel. And so I have to get to a point of being fed up before I say something. And, you know, sometimes that moment has come and gone. And it was like as though I didn't have the courage to say something, or I didn't want to say something, so the other person felt hurt, or maybe it felt a little awkward at that time. Again, it's a place of awkwardness. So, I dislike how I shut down when I feel unsafe or when I feel threatened. I know it's a coping mechanism, but at times it doesn't serve me well. I uh, just recently I I ended a relationship because I felt I didn't speak up. Well, at that time when I was ending it, I didn't think at that time I was right. But now, as I reflect and look back, I think there were moments that I could have said something that could have changed the trajectory of this relationship. Or what would have happened if I did say how I felt? What's the worst thing that could have happened? I don't know. If only I could have said what I felt, then maybe I would start to like that about myself until I love that about myself. Then we get to all this, we go through all of this, what we dislike, and we get to a place where, well, you know, I'm now starting to think, okay, I start judging myself. And we don't want to do that. We want to be able to observe how are we showing up and what do we need to do to pivot to become better versions. Um, and how do I accept that, you know, uh, accept it at that moment? This is what I dislike. I don't like that I feel this way. What can I do to change? What can I do to show up in a way that um, I can make a difference in my life and in the person who I'm having a conversation with. There are other things that we do, and we say like certain things. We say it like it has already happened. Oh, that's not going to work. Oh, I've tried that, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. We think it, we say it, and we expect the worst to happen sometimes. That. Or what about this here? It's like, you know what, I deserve that. Oh, I don't feel good enough. I'm not enough. I don't feel like I'm enough. So we adopt this victim mindset of we don't deserve that. Hey, you know what? Every single one of us, we all special. Every single one of us is unique. Do you know? And no one else has your thumbprint. No one is like you. The way you show up, the way you feel, the way you respond, there is no one like you. So, not being able to have a victim mindset, but saying, you know what, I deserve this. I deserve to have the best life. I deserve to be in a position, or I deserve this gift. I deserve to be loved. I deserve to be accepted. I deserve to belong. Um, we always are looking at considering other people and what they are thinking. And sometimes we forget about ourselves because we concerned about everybody else. That is something I also sometimes dislike, that I stand in someone else's shoe for so long that I forget what my own shoe feels like. How often we've done that. So knowing how to create balance, how much is too much? And when do I get to a place where I am giving up something of me instead of saying, if only? On your journey of self love, what's your next landmark? Who are you becoming is greater than who you were before this moment. We on the journey, we've started this journey, we're exploring, we're discovering, we're learning, we're applying, so that we get to write our story. And I want to leave you with this reflection. I wish I was more courageous in close relationships to say what I feel. So I don't have to waste a long time, get so upset, and then crash because I don't know what. the possibilities are that could have happened there. I cannot second guess. I cannot say, well, if I did this here, or this is what really happened. I will never know. So I don't want that. I don't want to miss those opportunities in life for me to explore and discover who I could be. Um, I wish I could slow down sometimes. So I get a moment to just pause and reflect. Um, I wish I wasn't so judgmental at times in normal conversations. I'm a coach. When I put on my coach hat, it is the simplest thing and the easiest thing for me to slip into that role and completely step away from, and suspend all judgment. But as soon as I take that coach hat off, then it becomes easier for me to judge. And I wish I wasn't so judgmental. Unless I know this about myself, I cannot change it or be better. What would happen if each of us was to unlock this power? How would we grow and keep growing? And how would others be more positively impacted? So I want to end with this. What if you started your day and said, if only I could fill in the blank, and then think about one thing that you could do differently to change that. Instead of saying, if only I could, you could say, this is what I do. And you could end your day by saying, I used to dislike this about myself, but guess what? I'm now starting to like this. And before long, I'm going to love this about myself. What is your if only? What is your if only? And I want to leave you with that. For our next episode, get ready for something that is miraculous, that's really happening. It's right now happening because we're writing our own story. Once upon a dream, let's begin to dream of what our aspirational self looks like. I'm able to access my greatness. My top three values in life are spirituality, wisdom, and creativity. Spirituality connects me to something that's bigger than me. So being able to understand that I'm just not me in my home right here, or my office right here, or my job right here, but I'm connected to something that's larger than life. It causes me to find what that meaning is in life. What I like about myself is my patience. I'm a coach, and I have so much of patience listening to people's challenges and opportunities that they want to share, aspirations that they have. I have just so much, a world of patience listening to that without judgment. But really excited about today's topic, Once Upon a Dream, because I'm a dreamer. I did share this, that my creativity is one of my values. So, in my creativity, I do a lot of daydreaming and just coming up with new ideas and new things and new visions. It fuels me and it provides so much of happiness and joy to me. And in the last episode, we closed out with a reflection that I asked you to think about. If you only knew, if you were only able to, what is your if only? What would that be? Because unless you know what your if only is, you are able to get on your journey of discovery or on this exploration to the real you. Who you are becoming is greater than who you were before this moment. It's being able to get comfortable with who you truly are because you get to spend most of your time with yourself, your thoughts, your emotions. This is a person you will spend the rest of your life with. So, this is what happened to me in my life. At the end of every year, I write down my dreams. I look at the year ahead and I think, well, by the end of 2024, what are at least 5 things that I would like to accomplish? One of those dreams for 2024 was to become a podcast host. It was always inside of me, and I thought, this is one thing I'd love to do. And I wrote that down. Um, and so when 2024 hit, that is exactly what I started putting in motion. Today's all about dreams. So as I'm talking, please go ahead and put one of your dreams in the chat. What is one dream that you have for yourself in 2024? You see, on for this at the end of the year when I write down my dreams, one was on the podcast host. The second was just learning how to be with myself. How do I spend more time with myself so I have enough content to talk about in the podcast? So I can bring whatever I'm bringing to you is real. It's true. It's what's happening in my life and the lessons that I'm learning from that. Um, Here's a really interesting thing. When we launched the podcast, the first session was on the I factor. And the message was to smile. Before you get off your bed in the morning, smile. Let that set the tone for you for the rest of the day, whether you feel like it or whether you don't. You want to be able to smile. And we know that old saying, you fake it till you make it. And so being able to smile. So when you get to your bathroom, the first thing you see is your smile. Um, However, I want to share this because this really got me smiling. We released the podcast on the Monday, and that same week, I attended a gala event at the Jazz Lincoln Center. And it was a celebration of Tony Bennett's life. And, he left a great legacy. Josh Groban was the host for the event. The last song, the closing item for that event was Smile, the famous song Smile. Smile though your heart is aching. Smile even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you'll get by if you smile. And I sat there and I thought, wow, this is such confirmation of this big message that I put out there. And every morning I get up smiling. So I was on the golf course this weekend, and as I was playing golf, I noticed that I was smiling. I noticed that my facial muscles had relaxed, and I was lost in this wonderful world of golf and just being comfortable with myself. When I was a little girl, I lived in an imaginary world that continues to serve me today. So being able to dream and daydream is something that is really the very core of me. I don't know how to do without that. Um, and so early on, I was talking about at the end of December, I wrote down my dreams. Now, here's the next fascinating thing that I enjoy sharing when I meet people is that every year for the past 25 years, in December, I always write down a minimum of 5 dreams that I have for the coming year. So, right now, I can go back 25 years and talk about every year and 5 things that came to pass, or dreams that were realized, dreams that came true every year for the past 25 years. So, in other words, if that's a minimum of 5 per year, it means that right now I can share 125 dreams that have come true for me. What's your dream? If you had to complete this prompt, once upon a dream, what would that be? For me, it was once upon a dream, I was a podcast host. So think about that. What do you want, when we get to December 2024, what do you want to be able to say? This is my dream and it's come true. And enjoying that fulfillment of having your dream come true. Um, I love it when my dreams come true. It also it makes me want to smile in the morning. It makes me want to get up because I have a dream. And your brain believes what you tell it most of the time. So what the way you talk to yourself shapes your brain, and your brain then shapes your life. It shapes your everyday experience just by the thoughts you have and what you saying to yourself. So when you have a dream that you're looking forward to, that you want to accomplish in life, that you want to make happen, imagine what that's doing to your brain and how your brain is firing up, because that's how you will experience life. Your life is the experience of the dreams that you have. What's your once upon a dream? Think about that. Take a moment to think about what is my once upon a dream. To create the experience you want, you're going to have to tell your brain what you want. What is it? Are you telling your brain, or what are you telling yourself right now? This is a quote of mine that I've been talking throughout all the episodes. Who you are becoming is greater than who you were before this moment. Who you becoming is the dream. It is the dream. And every dream is part of your journey of discovery, of exploration. Every dream is a landmark to get you to your next self, to where you want to be. So, you know, um, make sure that you like or share or drop your comments in the chat, and please go ahead and in the chat just share one of your dreams. What's your one dream, at least one, for 2024? Let me close with this quote by Walt Disney. If you can dream it, you can do it. If you can dream it, you can do it. What is your once upon a dream? For our next episode, we're going to keep the conversation going. And the next episode is going to be, how do I keep dreaming? Until next time. And on the flip side, we have disappointments. And we may start off with this dream, but somewhere along the line, we may get derailed. What disappointments have you experienced in life? What about disillusionments? What has discouraged you? Where in your life are you living in blame and or shame? What do you feel hopeless about? What about those failures that keep coming and raising its head to remind you? What about negativism? These are things that kill our dreams. They derail us and they take us away from the things that bring us joy. What if you could rise above those disappointments? And how do we do that? How do we keep the dream alive? How do we keep dreaming? The last week, I mentioned my dream about being a podcast host. At the beginning of the year, I went through the loss of a close relationship. It devastated me. It took me away from my dream because in December, my dream was that I will be a podcast host this year. And so when this loss happened, I lost my dream. It derailed me. But here's what happened: the more space I created to ruminate on the loss, the more I started to downward spiral. So space happens in our mind, and we begin to think about things that are negative. It takes us backwards. I needed to know, how could I fill those empty spaces in my mind with something that was more productive, that was going to bring more joy, that was going to get me to a place where I started feeling better than I was, not devastated. What was not devastating was having more peace. So I accessed my greatness through one of my values, which is creativity. And I did share that with all of you. When I'm accessing the value of creativity, I usually sit at the piano. I play music is my life. I love sitting at the piano, listening to music, going to concerts. So guess what I did? I signed up for concerts. I signed up for 2 concerts a month for most of the year. And every Saturday evening, I'd get dressed. I would look my best self, get an Uber, jump in the Uber, go to a concert in New York City, sit by myself. Now, let me tell you, it was uncomfortable, it was hard, but I needed to do something uncomfortable to get to a place where I was accessing my greatness, where I was being able to fill these empty spaces. It wasn't easy, but when I sat in that seat in the concert hall or the location where I was watching a show, um, I forgot about the people around me, and I just immersed myself in the music, which again, like I said, that's my passion. That's my happy place. When we live in the disappointments and the discouragements, we really are living in the past. Dreaming doesn't happen in the past. History happens in the past. But we can change the trajectory of our lives. We can dream. We can rewrite our story. How do we keep dreaming? By finding the one great lesson you learned from the negative past experiences, the one great lesson from what you consider failure. How do you turn that failure around into a success? Because, when you're looking at, what did I learn from this failure? Or what am I learning from this disappointment? That disappointment and failure has no power because you've turned that around into something wonderful. something about you and how you emerging. So, at this point here, I'm going to ask you to put in the chat, what is one lesson you learned from your failure that had a positive impact on you? What did it reveal to you about yourself? This is how you keep dreaming. I can say this. When I go to the concerts on my own, I learn about who I am. I learn that I'm happy in my creative place. Well, I'm happy when I'm living my values. I'm happy when I am pursuing my dreams through my values. The very thing that keeps bringing you down is the very thing that gives you the power to rewrite your new story. And how do you do that? By dreaming, by reimagining. Our imagination is powerful, it conjures up mighty images. If we allow it, those images will go downward spiral. But if we access our values and our purpose, then we are changing the course of how we're experiencing the day. If it takes us to the past and we ruminate, we're telling our brain how to think. We're training our brain how to think by ruminating in the past. And so when we train our brain to think in that way, guess what happens? We begin to experience life in the past. It's difficult to be in this present or the future or even pursue a dream. To be able to keep dreaming is being able to change how we think. If we tell our brain new stories, transform stories, then we experience a transformed life. When we keep dreaming, we reimagine life. We write our stories. We keep dreaming. We keep writing. We rewrite those stories. The stories we write are our thoughts. Our thoughts shape who we are. Our thoughts create the day that we want to experience. Our thoughts create the life we want to live. What is a story that has you going around in circle for the longest time? What is that story? Now is the time to change that story. Now is the time to rewrite your story. This is self love. This is learning how to love who you are and learning about this person you're going to spend the rest of your life with, because you spend most of your time with yourself. What do you want your story to be? So, at this moment, please go ahead and, drop in the chat. What is that one lesson that you're learning about yourself? What is that wonderful lesson that's teaching you about the wonder of you, about the greatness in you? This is how you keep dreaming, being able to ask yourself, what am I learning about myself in this? What is the great thing I'm learning about myself? I want to close with two thoughts that I had, and I want to share this with you. The first is your story is changing, and you are the storyteller of your new story. Here's a second thought. What you tell your brain is what your brain remembers. I'm going to say that again. Your story is changing, and you are the storyteller of your story. And the second thought is what you tell your brain is what your brain remembers. So, what do you want your brain to remember? That's how you keep dreaming. Uh, Looking forward to our next session, which is called Don't Define Me. Do you know why? because we define ourselves. We tell our new transformed story.